Hi, and welcome to the Diablo podcast, brought to you by PureDiablo.com, your home for an expansive Diablo community, an ever-growing wiki, and of course, this podcast. I am your host, Xanth, and today we're going to talk all things Diablo. As you are joining us, if you are new or old, we're going to dabble a little bit in speculation, a little bit in reaction, and always in Diablo. Now, much like Diablo, we have a vast stable of guests, but I always return to my chosen mounts. Uh, and that, of course, is my lovely co-host, Nimeball,
Oh, hi.
and noted streamer, noted whale, notably present, Herberts.
Hello.
And no one here was expecting me to equate them to mounts, but here we are.
No, that was interesting.
I
Yep, took me
prepped
off
that.
guard on that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm pretty proud of it. Okay. So my trusty steeds, we have a lot of Diablo to talk about. First and foremost, it has released. It is, according to Blizzard, the fastest selling Blizzard game of all time. Does this surprise you at all?
No, no, not at all. I think that one, I think it's probably been the most marketed Diablo game for sure. And I don't
Mhm.
just mean like in the way that it was like a lot of marketing. It was really interesting marketing. It crossed a lot of different spectrums. You had like mainstream media talking about Diablo 4. I was watching the NBA Finals, and there was commercials for Diablo 4 in the NBA Finals. It's all over Twitch and YouTube. It has been for months now. Plus, their developer talks. I mean, they've just done a really good job of ramping up the marketing elements. And plus, I mean, Diablo 3 was a very successful game that built up a big player base that's a little more modern than just us old school Diablo 1 and Diablo 2 heads. And I think this game hit a lot of notes with WoW players, which are hardcore, subscription-based players too. So it does not shock me. It kind of hit in a lot of different ways. And there's a lot of people that don't play Diablo that are full-time streamers that are playing Diablo right now on stream, which is crazy to see as well too. It's pretty awesome.
Nine Ball's got nothing. Uh,
I mean, yeah, this is just everything that he said there. Sorry, I got distracted. It was shinies.
yeah.
Um, that
So I want to commend both of you for being here because to do this, we're also not playing Diablo 4. Actually, I'm not logged into Battle.net right now to confirm that both of you are not currently playing.
Definitely not standing in town, but I'm definitely not playing.
I don't have the game open. I was looking at something in Discord, completely unrelated. It was unfortunately Warhammer. So yeah,
Okay,
I
okay.
can't. I
Well,
don't even have a good excuse.
no, it's totally fine. Because this is probably the hardest podcast to record because
Yes.
everything is fresh, everything is new, everything is exciting, and we very much want to be playing, but I also want to talk about it. Because it's been nice. Now, before we get into our own reactions, I want to bring up one more point on the previous thing. The thing that didn't surprise me about it being fastest selling was how successful was Diablo 3, right? It was
Yeah.
Mhm.
so
Yeah, I
successful.
mean,
And
it's
it,
one of the top 20 all time, right?
right? Diablo isn't like every other franchise where we have like an attrition. It's been a decade since the last game. A decade
Mhm.
ago, for a bunch of people who were excited for 3, bought it when it came out. 10 years later, here we are again. I don't think a lot of those players left. If anything, grew. So to me, it made a lot of sense to see it do very, very well because we just haven't had as much of a war of attrition like a new Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed or others that I can think of. So it doesn't surprise me. Now, before we talk about our own gameplay, the game's already been beat to a good margin. Um,
Yeah.
in the time in the time it took me to kill a few characters, people have already hit 100 in both softcore and in hardcore, and the tally continues to grow by the day. Um, the first went out to Rob, who I believe it took 46 hours to get to 100.
Yeah, softcore Barb.
Yeah. And over the course of those 46, slept 8.
I feel that energy.
Yeah.
I wanted to. I definitely wanted to, but even like I felt tired after playing for 6 hours, I think, on night one, 7 hours, somewhere in there. Uh, I couldn't go. I felt more tired playing the past week than I did running that ultra marathon. Um, it has been more physically draining, and
You're a,
it has
you're weird.
completely changed my perspective on long-term gaming as athletes. Like, I just can't do it. I'm too tired.
You need to change your workouts then, because something's not making it's not working for you.
Yeah,
Start
that's
lifting
fair.
lifting those mice.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. Just getting the wrist tension muscles. I actually have an abrasion right there. Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
good. I'm good. I'm good.
No, I'm
Um,
okay. But
I haven't been keeping track of my playtime in hours. I've been keeping track of it in empty full throttle cans.
Uh, yep.
Yeah.
that
Yep.
uh when I said I lost 2 hardcore characters, so it gave me an idea of like what my time played has been. The first one I lost, it was like 6 some hours, and then the next one was 21. I was just like,
Ooh,
oh my God.
that's a whole day gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm totally fine with it. It's fun, but I'm like, oh man, I've thrown a lot of time in, and it really hasn't been that long.
Yeah.
So that's great. But anyways, so the game has been beat. Um, even though it's been solved, apparently we're still content to play.
Well,
It hasn't been solved completely
yeah.
because the level 100 pinnacle dungeon is still disabled to my understanding.
Yes,
So
it
no one's
is.
beaten it yet. So
Because you
the
can't.
game, yeah, the game is still currently undefeated.
Woody
Yeah.
tried. I watched that attempt, and that was intense.
On
Yeah.
hardcore.
On his hardcore, rogue, and he had to TP out, or he was done. He
Yeah.
was able to TP out, so that was good. And they shut it down 20 minutes. I swear to God, it was like 20 minutes later that the tweet came out saying they were going to turn it off for the time being. I'm actually so none of the softcore players had already beaten it. I
I don't
had
believe so,
assumed
no.
that someone had. Okay, gotcha. That's crazy. Um, yeah, I'm excited excited to see that happen. I'm excited to try it myself. I'm getting pretty close. So once they turn it back on.
Yeah, I'm stoked to see what more people do. I think the going back to that 46-hour mark, I think that comes down. I think that comes down significantly when you're not hindered by the campaign. Now, I don't want to
Yes.
say that the campaign is a hindrance because it was phenomenal. We're going to come to that later. But uh, having died and now gone back through, I'm much further along in a much shorter amount of time than having to go through the campaign because I'm off the rails and it's just so much easier. So I would
Yeah.
expect that to come down a lot.
There's a lot of downtime in the campaign. It's fantastic. You're right. We'll go into it later, but the traversal time, just traveling between points and dialogue, cinematics, things like that. If you're watching them, it may eat up time for sure.
And you don't have a
Um,
mount.
yeah. Whereas opposed to just skipping campaign, just going straight into like grinding dungeons, man, you could really power level through pretty quick, which is good, right, for your second, third, fourth playthrough. I'll probably run through the campaign at least another time on an alt. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I would. My plan is I'd love to do the story on every class, but let's see what happens when I finally do choose another one.
Yeah, there you go.
What I click. Um, we'll see. We'll see. Okay. So other people have beat the game, but we have not. That's okay.
Getting there.
Wait,
We'll get there.
define beat the game.
Yeah,
I would say that we have. I
Level
would say that we
100,
have.
yeah.
Oh, if level
Right.
100 is beating the game, then did you ever hit 99 in Diablo 2?
Yes.
Okay, then you beat that game, I guess. I
Um,
don't consider 99 or 100 beating the game. But yeah, it's fair.
Now, we waited a long time. We haven't chatted until until really today. If you message me on BattleNet right now as I'm playing hardcore, I'm just trying not to die, so I never get back to people.
You're
Um,
never gonna see it
No,
anyway, but that's a whole different thing.
also
not
fair.
wrong.
Uh, we'll,
No.
we'll get to that, but you got to get in. You got to play. What was your? I want to say first day, but in all reality, it was probably. Why don't we just do first 48 hours with Diablo 4? Like, what'd you do and how'd you do it?
9.
I mean, it wasn't my first 48 hours with Diablo.
Well, it was your
Fair.
first 48 with a
So
released
I
version.
so I was playing with a group of friends, two of my best friends, and they obviously had not yet played through the campaign. So I was just playing at their speed. Whatever, I've already done the story and all that. We'll go, whichever route that you do. I tried to stream, and it seemed that things were working, but then I started having the OBS crash. Like I got 3 hours in. Previously, I couldn't stream for more than an hour before OBS crashed. I got 3 hours in, then it crashed, and then like 45 minutes, and it crashed again. So then it was like that was it for me. And so we just went through and we played. I want to say that we got all the way through Act 4, and we went to bed at like 4 a.m. or something like that, and was back up at like 10. In order to go through, finished off the campaign, and then the real grind began. We pretty much we finished the campaign. I want to say at like 42, and we went through, got all the skill unlocks in the zones, and we were like 45 at that point. And then we did the nightmare unlock. And immediately started like grinding like hell tides. We didn't really have it was definitely one of those ones where we got hit with the just like the decision paralysis. There's like too many options to go through and do without having like a clear path. Because even though there's a lot of guides and stuff like that, we talked about it previously, about what to do, where to go, and such. I'm still trying to have that discovery experience instead of, the game's been solved already. This is XYZ most efficient way to go. And so a lot of that was still just trying to figure things out on my own. It was kind of like that was my Thursday, Friday, going through, getting up to 60, trying to work towards getting World Tier 4 unlocked and such.
Yeah, mine was very similar. I had a group of friends I was playing with. Some were in, some were out. Some of them like are full time like Mythic Raiders and WoW. So like they had raid times they had to meet and things like that. And of course, there was a lot of vitriol there. Apparently a lot of people in their WoW raids not wanting to play WoW. Go figure. But yeah, so like when we had a group, we were kind of just champing through the story together. Then they would leave, and then they'd come back and they'd jump back in with me and kind of pick up where they left off, and we'd kind of just keep going. I did finish the campaign the first day. I didn't go to sleep till it was finished, and I think we hit like 55 or 60 before we went to bed. Like I didn't go to sleep till almost noon. The next day, and I slept for like 3 hours. Yeah, I went to sleep at like 12 and got up at like 2:30, 3 o'clock, and started playing again. I was not feeling great the next night, but I did it again. I slept like 4 hours the next night, and then I crashed really hard Monday night. That was the first like full sleep I got. Woke up super groggy and then kind of been back at it. So I've been trying to sleep as little as possible, but I'm old, so I have to catch up every couple days.
Yeah.
It's how it goes. But I've kind of a mix and match. I did play a little bit of the betas, right? I had played a lot of the the open betas and things like that. So I kind of known like what I wanted to do to start. And I kind of had a few dungeons in Act 1 in mind that were really good to grind. Like they felt really fast. So once we completed the story, we didn't touch Renown right off the bat. We went straight into grinding dungeons. Did our first like couple of nightmare sigils just to get our glyphs, get a few glyphs at least. Grinded hell tides when they popped up. World events when they popped up. I went straight to the PvP zone. I already have a full stash tab of ears. I have every PvP achievement in the game. I have every PvP cosmetic so far that's in the game. That was my bucket list that I wanted to do right off the bat, and it was a hell of a time. I'll be honest with you. I've loved a lot of Diablo 4. As far as like overall, just like TLDR, it's a 15 out of 10. I've absolutely loved the game. I hope it stays. There's definitely things I'd love to see fixed and altered and changed. And this is launch. It is by far the best launch Diablo game we've ever had. There's no doubt.
I think it's the best launch Blizzard game that's ever.
I mean, it's hard to disagree with that. And a lot of the problems that I'm running into are running into problems because I've no life the shit out of it. Like if I was playing it like a human person, I probably would not have run into a lot of the issues that I've run into. Now, mind you, I'm not like no life in it like some, right? Some have already hit 100, right? I'm 82 now. I'm about to be 82. So
I'm a hair away from 72. It's like, can I be late for this show? Can I just
right? Yeah. Well, it's
a Legion event spawning.
And for those that haven't hit it yet, XP significantly drops off when you hit 50. Like I told everyone, by the way, 50 is the soft cap there with the skill points. And then 60, worse, 70, way worse. And then it starts to become a real slog. Not quite Diablo 2 level on the grind to 99, but it's a lot closer than what Diablo 3 or Diablo 1 was, right? The grind is very real. 100 is not easily achievable unless you're target farming and specifically farming that XP. But, kind of like I started with, like, I'm playing a sorcerer, of course. I started with builds that, like, I knew some abilities I wanted to use. Like, I rocked with, like, Lightning Spear and some other, like, non-optimal builds for quite a while. But then eventually you hit a certain point where you're just kind of like, okay, I need to really up my damage here to be more efficient. And so I kind of made some transitions at that point, too. But it's been a lot of just XP grinding, Helltide farming. We did eventually, and I know that one of your things you say is about crow eating. I did finish my altars. I did it. Yeah. But honestly, I would not have done it if it wasn't for two things. Number one, the interactive map on Pure Diablo. Like, that thing is fucking awesome. Shout out to Rush and the team. Like, because you can log in and, like, it keeps track of what you have actually completed or not, which makes it even easier. It's really, really nice. You can disable a bunch of different icons on there and just kind of focus on the ones you want to keep on. It's really, really, really impactful. That helped a lot. And then also, too, like, I just reached a point where, like, I did enough renown to get my skill points in every zone, and then I just went back to grinding. And then I got to a point where, like, I had unlocked so many of my glyphs that I realized, damn, 20 Paragon points would get me a whole nother glyph unlock, so I better just go do this shit. So, like, all my friends log off, or they go to work, they're doing whatever, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to start just doing some renown. And I've made a lot of really great discoveries during the renown process, but that's kind of been my journey of Diablo 4 so far. But it has been a blast, and as soon as we're done, I'm going to be back playing all night tonight and probably not sleeping, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Fun. Yeah.
I'm, like, envious in some ways. I want to point out, I've played a lot, but I don't think I've played enough. Like,
I feel the same.
Oh,
So I feel the same.
I stayed up till 2 a.m. yesterday just so that way I could play the game for 5 hours. Because, like, work was, like, yesterday work was just terrible. Like, I didn't even get home till almost, like, 8 o'clock at night. And then you still have to, like, shower, eat, spend time with the wife. Stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah. And then, of course, the weekend was also bad because it was just like we had a whole bunch of errands to run. We had to spend time with the family, all those type of stuff. I was like, I could just be playing Diablo right now.
Yep.
And then this weekend, I'm going to a Warhammer tournament, so it's not even going to stop.
So I shared pre-show what my weekend, my opening couple days was like, but I got in at 6, and shout out to Blizzard that at 6 those servers were on and working.
Yeah, they were great.
That was such a phenomenal launch. Like, I expected queues, like I was just mentally prepared for that. Like, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of people, probably more than what's to be expected. I remember Diablo 3's launch pretty vividly. As long as it was better than that, I was gonna be fine. And suddenly I was making a character and everything was just good to go. I played 6 or 7 hours. No, actually, I played 8 hours that night. My character died at level 24 because I went into a cellar and just got completely destroyed somehow.
You died in a cellar too? Oh, that's depressing.
I know. What a way to go. And then
I am like that. So I used to give Leviathan so much shit because he died And do you remember the old test realm where you had to
Yes.
like use like the greater rift key, and then
Yeah.
you do like the little test realm to see how high of a key that you could get before you actually started rifting.
Mhm.
He died in there on a hardcore character one time. I used to give him so much shit. I want to say dying in a cellar is like worse.
Yeah, it's worse.
So-
The only thing that I would give you for dying in a cellar is if you died in a butcher cellar.
Or if you were doing a side quest, and that's why it took you to said cellar.
Yeah.
No. So
You're just in a cellar. All right. Well.
my sleep deprived brain, I was in there and I was just slamming what I thought was the potion key, and I kept trying to reapply Earth and Bulwark apparently. And like I was just so tired. I was like, potion, potion. And I'm like, why am I not healing? And by the time I realized it, I was dead. And then what I
Terrible.
should have done was go to sleep. Well, what I did do was immediately make a new character.
Create a new character. That's it. That's the
and
spirit.
then get through the fractured peaks, because I wanted to get through the story because I knew I was going to die. I knew at some point my character was going to die again. And the faster I could then get through the story, I could prevent that from being a roadblock going forward. I wanted a mount. I wanted all the unlocks. And I will say, even just picking back up, just having a few skill points to kind of start from, because having a little bit of renown, I had unlocked that. That made it easier. And then I proceeded to, get through the rest of the story. And I will say, playing on hardcore, knowing none of these bosses, was intense.
Stressful. Yeah, I was gonna say.
And
when every click is a risky click.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm very aware of where my Earth and Bulwark was, and my potion from there on. I looked at my resting heart rate. So I rest at around 55. So like that's my resting heart rate, 55, 56, somewhere in there. This past week, it's been at like 60, 61. So I've been elevated a significant margin by the amount of stress for playing hardcore, which I love. Great. It's keeping me alive. Anyway, so going through the acts without knowing anything has been amazing. And that was the experience I absolutely wanted for myself, was to be able to play the game on hardcore, beat it, and then get that knowledge. And if I was going to mess up along the way, I messed up. Like that's it. And to get it done before a guide comes out, even better. So I was really happy with that. And then I posted a celebratory tweet of like, hey, I did it. Really looking forward to seeing what the end game has and how to live through it. And then 20 minutes later, I had to follow it up with a whoops, I'm dead. 20 minutes.
Did you die that time? Was that the cellar time?
No, I did encounter a bug. So there is a bug out there in which like your attacks become kind of disabled.
Oh yeah, it's like the keyboard.
You have to log out.
Yeah.
You have to log out.
Yeah. So I went into, I forget where it was, but I jumped over a ledge, and suddenly nothing was hitting, and I was surrounded. Potion, and this time I was 100% sure, because it was the middle of the day and I had slept the night before, that it wasn't sleep deprivation. Nothing was working. So I did lose that character due to a glitch, technicality, whatever we want to say, but that's part of the agreement. That's what I click on the button, and I understand that happens. So I wasn't disappointed. I got through the campaign, and I'm back up to exactly where I left off. So I'm significantly further behind both of you, but it has been so fun.
Well, I mean, behind though, right? Like we're all kind of taking our own paths for our own experience. I think it's, I don't know. I think that some people like to do all the little stuff and go through and really find their own way through a game, and some people like to grind and be mindless about it. I mean, there's so many different ways to play Diablo. I think it's what I've always loved about Diablo so much, is that it brings people that are obsessed with lore and people that are obsessed with just honestly, like, there are people that don't give a shit about lore, right? That just love the overall grind in the game in general, and I think that's always been super appealing to me about the community of Diablo, for sure.
So we're not going to talk about spoilers or anything yet in this episode, but I will say that even going through and seeing the reactions from people that do not care about story or lore or anything like that, we're still kind of like, there were moments where they stopped, know. Yeah, they stopped and watched. So it's good.
And again, no spoilers. We would not do that to anybody listening. But this game might have the best video game mechanic or best video game cinematic I've ever seen in my life. At a point in it, and the campaign, as someone who is in love with the story, and 9, we've talked a lot about it. It's incredible. It is, I think, the best Diablo story they've ever told, and it's really just beginning. There's so many side quests and things, and what the possibilities for the future and what they could do. It's absolutely incredible. The Diablo 4 team has absolutely crushed the campaign experience, in my opinion. And the cinematics, wow, that cinematics team is always amazing. Like the Blizzard cinematics team is always great, but holy shit, it's just, man, kudos, man, big time kudos. It has been an I felt like I was a kid again, man. It's like watching those old Diablo 2 cinematics right back in the 2000, right? Yeah, I felt like I had those feelings, man. It's just so good.
I even got a couple Tyrael's wings moments in that campaign too. Not Tyrael's wings, but
right,
you know what I mean.
Anari's
Yep.
What I think is interesting, and I wholeheartedly enjoyed the story, and I would concur. I would argue that this probably has the best Diablo story, right? Diablo 1 and Diablo 2 are great, but what they do is they give us little pieces of a larger story. And that's about it. Like this had a lot more immersion, had a lot more depth, a lot more complexity. Now, whenever you're constructing a world with characters, you're going to have some issues along the way, which makes sense. But the absurdity that I encountered this week as I kind of scrolled through Reddit of some people saying that this was worse than Diablo 3. I know. But saying that this was absolute trash and that Diablo 3 and using Diablo 3 as obviously like to give some disdain to the story, but saying the Diablo 3 story was better. That's absurd. That's absurd.
I mean, people have their opinions. I don't agree with it at all. That is absurd to me. But there's some people that really love the Diablo 3 story, and I think the Diablo 3 story got a lot of hate, and I don't think all of it was fair, personally. But yeah.
No, but
I was actually just recently talking with Nevelistus, like comparing and contrasting like the D4 and D3 stories, and it's like when you think about the Diablo 3 story, you think of butterflies and Asmodean's floating head, but you don't think of Tyrael ripping his wings off or the Black Soulstone cinematic.
Right.
But they were really good. They were really good story plot points in Diablo 3. And if it had been like Diablo 2 story is told, the majority of the story is told through just the cutscenes. And then there's a little bit that you get as you play through the game, unless you stop and like talk to everybody. But then with Diablo 3, if you just take the act cutscenes, it actually is, pretty compelling. And then you add the stuff in between. It was like, you should just please stop talking, so, it had like a good core, and it lacked honestly, it lacked some of the, like, just like the narrative tools and stuff like that this game does, that was able to nail some of those plot points so much better, so.
I also like, and I have to time it. I don't know if it's because I was watching things or whatever as I was going through the campaign myself, but this the one thing that I have seen that I would kind of agree with, even though I thought it was a good thing, was that it was really long. There are moments in acts that are very short. There's one that kind of blew my mind at how short it was. But then there's 2 acts that are just crazy long, like longer than the entire campaigns for, I would say, Diablo 2, like all put together for all the acts. But I love that, right? Like, I love the lore, I love the story. I thought that the boss fights were super engaging. I thought that the voice acting was incredible. There is a lot of traversal prior to getting your mount, and I could see frustrations there, because I definitely myself was like, I really gotta walk all the way there? They give him a horse yet? Okay, that sucks. But I definitely don't agree with that take. That's an interesting, so that's all over Reddit, you said?
Yeah, there's a lot of th- there's a strange dichotomy with people praising the story, and then obviously the natural reaction is to say that this is the worst thing. Um,
Sure.
and again, it's not
That shocks me.
right, just like with everything. Um, you can provide good criticism of other points of the story that could use some clarity, sure. Um, but I would argue this is still the best story that they've told.
I would too. I think it's incredible.
And I was thoroughly engaged the whole time, uh, even even after having to start back up again, and play through the Fracture Peaks again. And but no, I wanted to keep going because I wanted to see what was going to happen. I wanted to know how this story was all going to play out, and that's exciting. And I think it ended in a manner that I really liked.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see where we go from here. And I think that's probably all we can say without feeling the need to get too
Well, and that's
spoilery.
and no spoilers. But that's the one thing I will say is that very akin to what Diablo has always done. It leaves on like a thought of what is to come. And I think that it hit that note perfect. Like for a game that's 10 years removed from Diablo 3, 20 years removed from Diablo 2, that feeling of, ooh, what's next was
Yeah.
absolutely in the game and in the way it ended, quote unquote. Man, it's just, yep, it is very good. It is
Yeah,
very good.
yeah. And that is, yeah, I want to dig into it. I want to even just mention things about Diablo 3 story by comparison that aren't answered here, but that is a full podcast in and of itself. That is
Yeah,
a
we'll have to,
lore
yeah.
podcast for when we can start doing some spoilers, but we're just not there yet because the game did technically just release 2 days ago um, to
Yep.
the non early releasers, and at this point during my playthrough, I wasn't even done yet with the story. So
Yeah.
let's not spoil it for anybody who does happen to be out there,
Sure.
which I think is fine. All right, you guys want to take a quick waypoint? Doesn't matter. We're doing it anyway. Okay, so you can go to town. You can run from one corner to another to your different vendors while I
But
talk
you can't
about.
speed boost on your mount.
Nope.
Oh, anyways, that's a whole different thing.
Uh,
I know, it makes you so mad.
so,
And I do it
anyways,
every time too. Sorry.
yeah. Uh, so we'll take a waypoint, and while we're doing that, fill up on potions, grab your elixirs, and let's honor Pure Diablo today. Um, obviously, they are our sponsor. There's where the site goes. We have our editor, Rush, who's doing all sorts of good things. You mentioned before, Nerdwords, there is an amazing interactive map that
Yeah.
really just kind of blew my mind as I've been playing through now without the campaign. Just using that to kind of go around and just check things off has been phenomenal. And shout out to I have no idea how it works. My job is I turn on the camera, I turn on the light, and I invite you two bozos, and we just talk. Um, that's it. I have no idea how this works. So shout out um, to them. They do also have a guild if you would like to be, or I should say, a clan. If you want to be a clan mate with this guy, you can come and join the Pure Diablo clan, as well as obviously visiting the wiki, which has been updated with all new Diablo 4 information. Continuing to visit the site for various articles and a message from Rush and Ellie. Both thanking everybody who has helped get them back up and running because this site has been around since the original Diablo. While Pure Diablo name is new, it is uh, one of my favorite sites from when I was a 15-year-old, DII.net. It was,
Yep.
I had like one
Mm-hmm.
website bookmarked, and it was that because I wanted to see the little ticker that told me what was happening in Diablo 2.
Yep. And really shout out to Rush and Ellie, right? I mean, I feel like they are two very underappreciated community members. As long as they have done this, probably longer than just about anybody else in the community. I mean, the reason why I'm here, reason why Nine's here,
Yeah.
reason why Xanth's here. You know, we were consumers and fans long before we ever did any sort of podcasting for or with them. So, shout out to Rush and Ellie, the goats, man, the goats.
And-
Yeah, like you said, I do believe that they are like one of the if they're not the first, one of the very first like Diablo fan sites that was ever created back before there was really like a thing of fan sites. You know how fan sites like exploded in the mid 2000s. You
Yep.
know, like they were in the 90s. You know, so it is definitely one of those ones where it's like it's just like it's the original. Like you mentioned, it's talking with Flux, you know, back in the
Yep.
day, getting on his podcast, this podcast back in like 2011, you know, before Diablo 3 even came out, and just booking various builds on the wiki back in the day for Diablo 2 builds and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this isn't to just pat ourselves on the back, but one last thing I will point out. They are still looking for people to help join. And I do know a lot of people who have been here that have gone on to work for or at least get offered jobs by Blizzard. So if you're interested in breaking into the industry, this might be a good place to start. Um, all right. So fill up your elixirs, craft that cheat death potion, and let's head back to the conversation.
Have you
Um,
been using that potion, by the way?
no.
True hardcore. Gotcha.
So we'll dive right in there. So we'll go into some other stuff. Let's talk about hardcore. There is a cheat death potion or elixir that you can craft. And do you guys use it in softcore? Do you use that thing?
Hell no, no.
I was
No,
kind of curious
I use
if you
literally
would.
any other elixir, yes, but not that one. I actually
Well,
haven't seen that elixir. I don't think.
I don't think that you even have access to it in softcore. I've
Oh,
not
okay.
seen it as even being craftable. I
That would
believe.
make sense.
I might be just like, you know, you can't see your eyes move in the mirror. I might just be like blinking
Well,
it out type thing.
I
So-
also completed a side quest like an hour ago that gave me a recipe to form a new elixir as well. So there are elixirs that like you can get through side quests that I did not know was a thing. That I thought that was pretty cool. So, but I've not seen that at all.
So one, that elixir was force fed to me, at least the recipe for it, like second or third drop of the game. It was insane. I'm like, what?
They really want you to use it.
Yeah. So I have it, but essentially, you know, it's your traditional elixir. If you die, you get to come back. You get like 2 seconds of
30 minutes?
invulnerability, and then it can happen once every 5,
Is it 30 minutes?
30 minutes.
Okay.
I don't like it. I understand what Diablo 3 had done in terms of giving each class a cheat death mechanic, and there was kind of like that trade-off of like, okay, I'm going to take this, but then it hinders my build, and I still didn't like that either. But like, okay, I don't know. I really just don't like having it there because it does feel kind of like you need to use it. It's not cheap for crafting. It does have a decent amount of components, but it's also not hard either. I don't know. It just kind of was like, ugh, I feel like I'm gonna have to, but I haven't yet. And obviously, because I've died so many times, obviously I haven't been using it. That's my tangent. It is interesting that you guys did get it. There was a bug for hardcore
Yeah.
players then, so it was just us. But essentially, if you did not have the recipe in your inventory, it kept dropping.
They really want you to have it.
So they
Yeah.
really wanted you, like, dude, you're playing hardcore. Are you sure about this? What if
Yeah.
you didn't die? Okay, so I didn't come here to just complain about elixirs. Let's talk gameplay and the class that you guys chose. So let's surprise people. What did we choose? Shock everybody. I chose a druid 3 times.
Necromancer.
Sorcerer.
Yeah. And we were talking a little bit pre-show. I've been really engaged because with Twitch drops that are happening right now, watching some streamers, seeing them play classes that aren't mine, because I want to do that. I want I want to play a barbarian. I want to play a necromancer. In fact, I feel like necromancer will be my second class. I thought it was gonna be rogue, but like it might be necro. I don't know when that class will happen, but I really much I really have enjoyed watching other classes and like I don't feel the need like I have to switch because I'm underpowered or anything like that, mainly because I'm druid. But
Druids are not underpowered. You're
no, I'm saying
misinformed.
that's why I don't feel that way,
Oh, okay.
which is very odd, honestly. But I feel like everything I've seen
How
of
does
all
it
these other
feel?
classes, it feels wrong. Like what's an S tier? Um,
Steer?
what? But I really have liked the way that all the classes have kind of came out. There's a bunch of cool different builds that I've seen. And when we talk about longevity of the game, I feel like I'm just not even near the top of the barrel to even get to the bottom of the barrel of what I can do, right? Like every single class has so many cool things I want to go and try, and I don't know if I have the time to do it. That's my biggest complaint. Like I want to eventually Sorceress will be my last. I'm sorry. It'll be my last. But I do want to do it. I do want to get to that class and I want to play it. I just don't know when that can happen.
Look, as soon as I knew that Kedristan was in this game, that was the first. Like I got to Kedristan after I finished the campaign. I went back. I did everything in that zone, every side quest. I explored the whole area. I love that zone so much, and there's so much good lore there. Oh man, there's some really cool stuff with the Vajeri clan and just like all the stuff. Great Easter eggs for things, and yeah, just no spoilers, but great stuff. If you like sorcerer and sorcerer lore and lore tied into Diablo 1, Diablo 2, and Diablo 3 pretty deeply, man, it is awesome. So you, sir, are an asshole, but I digress.
I do want to play it. It's just later, It's
That's fair.
later.
I will say this. How I felt in the beta, I don't feel now when it comes to like in the beta playing sorcerer. I felt like it was the best casting class I'd ever played. It was a great fantasy fulfilled. I don't necessarily feel that way now because everything with the sorcerer is really melee focused. It's really difficult to build a ranged build with sorcerer and have it be functional. But I mean, there's a lot of like tuning and balancing and things like that are going to go on, and I'm sure that's going to shift. I'm enjoying the hell out of it, but it reminds me. I hesitate to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. It reminds me of the original Diablo 3, the critical mass wizard. If you remember that build, it was very melee focused and all stacking
Yeah.
cooldown and spamming your Frost Nova and spamming your shields and all that stuff. It is very similar to that. There's also an Ice Shard build that's really, really strong. Hydra's been nerfed into the ground and back. It's still okay, but basically there's like 3 real builds that are able to do like torment content at a decent level, and that's Firewall, Arc Lash, and Ice Shards. But I'm sure there's going to be some more sauce that's figured out as the game continues to progress, and obviously tuning and things like that too. But I've enjoyed the hell out of it. I don't feel like it's the best caster experience I've ever had anymore. But from what I understand, pretty much every class, no matter whether they're ranged or melee, are having a better time in melee than ranged, from what I've seen so far.
Well, I can continue that conversation because I've been playing a necromancer. I started off as a bone spear. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and the game just was like, "Oh, here's some bone affixes," and then of course, bone spear is just like out the gate, probably what your most powerful skill.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like I was like, I really want to try like a darkness build because I had a lot of fun on the server slam with the Sever Necromancer. And so I kind of want to try that again. I'm collecting like a little piece of like here's a darkness build piece, here's a darkness build piece, and then it's like, well, here's a bone unique, here's a bone spear, here's like you want +3 ranks on bone spear on your gloves because here it is, and it's just like why
Yeah.
like it kept focusing me into that, but I started having problems with the Bone Spear build, as I jumped into World Tier 3 and hit that 50 cap and had like the increased monster scaling and such, where it was taking me too many casts to kill mobs. And Bone Spear, it's not that you have to like cast a lot, you have to cast at full essence. Anything that you're casting below full essence is not efficient. And so it just was creating like this weird gameplay loop that I wasn't enjoying. So I finally bit the bullet. I said it might be less effective. I'm going to try Sever, and I've been enjoying the hell out of it. And there's like no good like in-game resources for Sever. I think that there's like one guide out there that I found on like I think it was Icy Veins. I didn't like it. And so now I've been doing like my own thing. And now I hit the level 70, I'm starting to get a little bit of that. But like in this darkness build, I like slow everything. I've got slows, I've got chills, I've got like stuns, all this other types of stuff. And it doesn't seem to make a difference because I get surrounded in half a second.
Yep.
Whether they're actually have like 60% slow plus chill plus this, it doesn't seem to affect their speed at all.
Yeah.
And so there is no like there's a couple of items and a couple of talents or skills that you can equip or that you can spec into to do increased damage against distance mobs that literally should just say you can use this against bosses because there's nothing else that you can use it against because everything just immediately gets on top of you and there's nothing that you can do really to create distance.
Yeah, that's why you just embrace it. That's why you just embrace it, and that's it, right? Like as a sorcerer right now, I'm rocking like Frost Nova and 2 different shields because my opener is to teleport into the center of whatever the bad is.
Mm-hmm.
And mind you, I'm strong enough to be able to do that and not die. I will also say too, the Raiment of the Infinite might be my favorite armor that's ever been in any game ever. It's a unique for the sorcerer that when you teleport in, it just sucks everything in like a cyclone strike from a monk in Diablo 3, and it is like the moment I didn't get it leveling up at all. Like literally last night, I'm like grinding dungeons for XP, and I get it to drop at level 79, and it was like 5 in the morning, and I'm like, I'm already exhausted. I need to go to bed. I got that. I played another 2 hours just so I got that damn thing. Raiment of the Infinite is chef's kiss. Really made my build go off. But yeah, it's been crazy. But yeah, I mean, even the ranged classes right now. I mean, like penetrating shot for the rogues having similar issues. That's why most people are running twisting blades. Melee is king right now for sure, with just about every spec that I've seen.
Which is really kind of interesting. If we look at something like Path of Exile, the speed of everything in that game has grown so exponentially that like you want to be killing things as fast as you can, as far away as you can, so you don't die. I appreciate a melee focused, and obviously, hopefully there's a little bit of distance that's able to grow, but if it has to be close to me, that means it can't kill me immediately. Um, ish, right?
Ish.
Ish. I'm okay with that right now. And I will say the druid has lived up to my expectations.
Pulverize is nasty. It survived a day 1 nerf and it's still top tier. It was so good. It got nerfed after 6 hours and it's still amazing.
What I've really enjoyed, because I've had to level 3 times now, is I have a vision every time I start, but it's completely dependent on what I can find, and obviously with aspects, what I can craft.
Sure.
And I've been trying to do a tornado druid, and there's only one item, and it is non-aspect that will cause your tornadoes to seek things out as opposed to just doing what they want. I did finally find it today, but unfortunately, it's at the lowest rating. Instead of seeking out 6, it only seeks out 2. So it's not super useful, but I've also kind of locked into a build. But I'll hold it. It'll go in the stash.
What is it about today? Because today I also found the Sever unique.
Hey, let's go.
Hey.
Oh, yeah.
So, they flipped the switch for us.
They flipped the switch, and then
what makes me angry is I have a friend who was like in and out all night, right? So I was like 15, 20 levels ahead of him. And they would just jump in and continue grinding with me, whatever. Because, scaling and all that stuff. They dropped this thing at like level 52 or 53, and they're playing a sorcerer as well. And so then, like, literally, they're like 10 levels below me, but they're just blasting stuff way faster than I am because they had that unique. And I'm just sitting there, like, cool. I guess I'm just a Z source now. That's fine. You know, just slow stuff and vulnerable stuff for you to do damage, you asshat. But whatever.
I am slightly envious because like the unique for like the darkness, the two uniques for the darkness build, one is just like you use all of your darkness skills chill, you know, and so it's like whatever, you can combine it with the one that you then regain essence when you crowd control something, but then the other one just makes it so that way your sever has a dot. And so it doesn't sound like, and the damage is like, it does an extra 1,000 damage as a dot, you know, over 2 seconds. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it works so well with like the game mechanic. But it's not like super like build changing or game changing or anything like that. I stack Shadow Blight faster, which then stacks my damage bonus faster with the.
What makes
the
your
other
damage on bosses a lot better than I'm guessing, right?
Oh yeah, because I mean, like the way that like a sever the sever any darkness build works is that every 10 ticks of shadow damage on a target hits it with a Shadow Blight proc. And Shadow Blight is just like a little tiny damage bonus. But if you have 10 mobs and they're standing in one corpse explosion, every time that it ticks, it's triggering a Shadow Blight on one of those random mobs. You have 2, and then now it's going off twice. There's another aspect that makes it so that way every 10 Shadow Blight ticks, or so every 10 Shadow Blight damage procs, so every 100 ticks, it gives you anywhere from a 50 to 120% damage bonus. And like I just need like 6 mobs. Now that I have that sever the sever unique, I just need like 6 mobs and I'll proc it instantly. Like it's just like I do like 100 ticks of damage. 100 ticks of shadow damage in like a second, you know, and so then all of a sudden, I'm doing 120% damage. Or I have 117 aspect that's sitting in the bank. I'm using like a 60% aspect because I'm waiting for. I've not been having good ancestral gear luck, even though I'm like in the 70s. So I've been waiting till I have something juicy to stick that on.
Feel that energy, sir.
Yeah.
Feel that energy.
So I think what we're kind of getting into is the end game. Now, my experience, obviously, dying has hindered me from getting into it, right? Though the end
Have
game
you done a Helltide yet?
No, because I have to like clear.
You have to get to Torment.
Tier
Or
2,
sorry,
right?
Nightmare.
Yeah. So I have yet to experience that.
Have you beaten that capstone yet?
Mm-mm. So
you need to record that, right? I need to see your first time doing that capstone dungeon.
So
it might be a little bit. So I'm like 40, 44, 45 right now.
You do it at 50
on softcore as a hardcore player with no experience. I'm not jumping in.
Okay. Well, first of all, I was gonna say this for the end, but I'm gonna be doing a hardcore character before I go back to work on Monday, and I'm gonna beat it way before 50, like way before 50.
You know what you're getting yourself into. I got no clue.
Yeah. Well, you're playing a druid. You should be fine. You should be fine. No balls, man. Going with that potion. Going with that potion. Going with that potion. And if you proc the potion, then just TP out, right, and come back later. It's fine.
Yeah.
Or no, that's fine. Either way.
No balls is also my favorite scene from the Dukes of Hazzard movie. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I have not got that experience. Maybe tonight.
I just want to see I want to see your first, because I mean those both capsule dungeons are not nothing, right? Take them very seriously. You're doing that for a good reason, but. Yeah.
But another friend of mine is playing hardcore. Her first character, she died at the capstone dungeon boss.
Doesn't shock me.
And then she just tried it again, and she actually killed it today.
So, it is not forgiving for sure. I would definitely recommend it. I wouldn't do it as a hardcore. I probably wouldn't do it before 48, probably. But you can. I did it at 41, I think. But my damage was ridiculous. I also didn't die, but. I'm a sorcerer, right? A lot of shields and teleporting and whatever. So
no, as a druid, I've got a pretty good build going. I need one more thing, and then I would probably feel comfortable. I need the legendary that will take my pulverize and shoot it outward.
Yeah, it's
But
so good.
I do have the legendary that my trample will cast landslide as I do it,
That's very
and
nice.
and
Yeah,
then
it's
I've
so
got
Yeah.
cool.
the other legendary that causes your trample or your landslide to be cast twice. So trample, and then it's just double landslides. It is. Oh, it is. Once I got
Chef's
that
kiss.
going, it every time it happens, I'm just like so giddy because like it's awesome. Uh, I'm a bear crushing the earth all around it. I love it. I love every second of it. So I feel pretty comfortable getting there eventually, but I'm not. So we talked last week about that end game loop, right?
Mm.
And you guys have played a lot already, and there's still more to come. How does endgame feel? How does the going in, grinding your nightmare sigils and your glyphs, hell tides, so on and so forth? How does that feel right now?
I,
Nine, you want to go first?
I'll go first because, like I said, I'm just a hair away from like 72. I want to say I barely tipped my toe into it. Because like I still haven't finished all. I still have to do my renown grind in Kyrgyzstan. And then I'll actually have like those Paragon points and such. I have been working on getting like one like really important glyph, for my build up to 15. And so I've kind of been like going back and forth, grinding some nightmare dungeons with some friends, and then running around doing a whole bunch of other dungeons on my own or side quests and such. So I haven't really entered into that loop. It's more of like kind of like that. I'm more like in that mid game feel, like Diablo 2. You know I just beat Bale on hell,
Like
and then
75 to 90
yeah,
range.
so
Yeah.
so now it's like I'm still I would even say even like closer to 50 because I mapped it out and I need 13 more levels plus Kyrgyzstan to like finalize my Paragon board progression, and then the rest of it will be like filling things out as I level my glyphs up and the grind to 100. So they're not as important to have, but I get the legendary nodes like the four glyph slots and such within the I think it's like 84, 85. I'll have everything. So I kind of like have that progression like mapped out. So I'm not even there where I've like fully have like my build and all the nodes and everything that I need. And so that's where I feel as if I'm at. I'm still farming for like uniques and well-rolled aspect pieces. I don't have full ancestral gear yet. So everything is a potential upgrade, not like a minuscule upgrade, like still using like sacred pants because I haven't found any ancestral gear that has corpse explosion on it. And so it's just having to go through it. As soon as I find that ancestral, like that +3 corpse explosion, then I got like 1,000 more armor, and I actually have like a big upgrade as opposed to trying to find. Well, this one actually rolled +4 because it's 3 to 4 corpse explosion on it, in order to use and such. So that's where I see myself. I haven't really fully hit that in game loop. Highest nightmare dungeon I've done is like a 24. Nothing impressive. So that's where I'm at. I'll get back to you in like a week's time.
So I've been in it pretty deep. I'm on my 4th Paragon board. I've got 3 glyphs to 15 at this point. I've done a 54, I think is the highest Nightmare Sigil I've done. For anyone who's paid attention, and I am super enthralled with Diablo 4. I want to start by saying that. I love this game. I think it's amazing. I think it's the best Diablo game we've had at launch. I feel exactly the same as I did 2 weeks ago. I do not like the Nightmare Sigil system. I think it's terrible. I don't like, specifically, it's not the scaling, it's the affixes. I don't like having, like, it's the reason I liked Greater Rift as a system was because I enjoyed that the monsters got harder, but it didn't add, like, Drifting Shadow, where this fucking thing chases you
Oh
around
God.
and smacks you so you can't fucking play the game. Like, I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that shit. The blisters, like the blisters, like that's an affix you can get where basically you kill a mob and they have a chance to spawn a blister, which if you don't kill that blister, it blows up and kills the party. And so getting that on a map with Fallen Shaman, where they can summon more monsters and thus more blisters, you take 25 extra minutes on the dungeon than you should have had to, because of just this stupid fucking affix. They don't give loot. They don't give experience. So it's just a waste of time. So then you just, like exactly what I said before, you're gonna look at your sigils to see what the affixes are and just delete the ones you don't want, craft new ones, and hope you get ones you want. Which
minus
is
40% shadow damage, delete.
Nope.
Minus 40% shadow damage, delete.
We got one. So again, my party was 3 sorcerers, and we got one that was monsters deal 100% increased damage to barriers.
Barrier, yeah.
Fuck you. Like, nope, never doing that one, right? So like, again, I knew that going in, though, right? Like, I knew that going in. So I don't like the Nightmare Sigil system. And again, like, I can see the end in sight. Like, I can see me getting to a point where I won't ever go into a Nightmare Sigil ever again. And the fact that I have to level these glyphs to really unlock my power annoys me. Just like I said before, right? It was my whole thing. It's like, there's so many options for the end game, and I think that's amazing. But there's really not. And when you get to a certain point, you start seeing the Matrix a little bit. And I'm kind of at that point. Now, again, love the game. I think it's incredible. I just don't love that particular system. I've already kind of gotten past the Tree of Whispers phase of the game. I don't really do those anymore. I still farm Helltide every time it's up because I need the crafting materials. Like, Helltide farming for the crafting materials is 100% required. You have to do, like, if you want to reroll anything, enchant anything, upgrade items, you have to do Helltide. And I recommend, if you're playing the game and you're not doing Helltide, you're going to reach a point where you go, fuck, I should have been doing Helltide this whole time. Yep. Do it every time. And when you do Helltide, just pro tip for everyone out there, find the chest of mystery for sure. It's 175 cinders. It's not on your map. If you don't go after that one, you can just get more materials and more items out of it, and it's higher level quality or higher quality loot out of it too. But I do think the Helltide's awesome. I have had more fun in the Helltide in the open world of Diablo 4 than any dungeoning, period. That said, I don't know that I've ever had more fun in a Diablo game than the PvP area. The Fields of Hatred are the absolute fucking best thing in Diablo 4. And even my friends who don't like PvP, I'm like, dude, just come with me. Just come with me for a little bit. And you run around and you kill mobs and monsters and you gather your seeds, and then a player runs by. And everyone goes, whoo! And just murder the hell out of that player. And it is so much fun. I think there needs to be more stakes to it. I think you should be able to lose items you find in the zone. Maybe not your gear, but items you find in the zone or anything in your inventory that you found in the zone, I think should drop as well. I think there should be higher stakes. I love the altar, like how long it takes to the seeds to go. I think it's a perfect time on it. The zones are big enough where you can run around without running into people all the time, but small enough to where if you see someone starting an altar, you can get there before it finishes and have a fight, which is really nice. I think the PvP is incredible. Except for barbarians are fucking assholes. They're assholes. They I don't know. There's something that barbs can do that just makes them literally not take any damage at all for extended periods of time. A lot of PvP in games is juggling your cooldowns and cooldown trading, right? As a sorcerer, I have 2 shields. I've got a teleport. I've got Frost Nova. The fact that I can shield, take a hit, shield again, take another hit, right? Frost Nova to freeze them, and then teleport away, and they can still one-shot me and still not have taken any damage from me sucks. But I digress. I still find ways to come back and kill them. Everyone who has killed me in PvP has died. But like I said off the jump, literally, I might have died 15 times, but I kept coming back till I got that one kill, I got their fucking ear, and then I left, right? I have a stash tab filled with ears. All my other stash tabs use ears to, like, line out, like, keep items from non-keep items. I have every PvP transmog you could possibly get right now in the game, and I have every achievement done. I love the Fields of Hatred. They are amazing. Give me 2v2 arena. Let me go into just a blank slate with no mobs and fight 2 other players with a friend. I think that'd be a blast. You don't have to do raiding or anything. Just let me do it. Just let me just go do it. I think that'd be amazing. Enable dueling outside of the Fields of Hatred. Like, let me go to a town and duel someone in an area. Or I think that would be really cool for testing. I think Fields of Hatred are amazing. The world bosses are stupid and annoying and dumb easy at this point. This is all my take, obviously. This is all my take.
I'll just add to that. The fastest world boss that I had was like death at 43 seconds was the first world boss that I fought at Torment.
Yeah.
And
I'm literally like...
It's supposed to be the level 70 capstone. There wasn't a single level 70 in that whole section. Yep. I think I was like 60.
Everyone was like 50.
Yeah,
55, 60, 61.
I was the highest level at 68, and there was a 53 in that. It was the
And
fastest world boss
and you're
that we
fighting
killed.
a 73 Ashava or a 73 Wandering Death, and they die in 2
Yeah,
minutes. Yeah, it's dumb. It is. I don't like. I'm not saying they should tune it to be harder. It's just exactly what WoW world bosses are. What Lost Ark world bosses were. At some point, they become trivial and pointless.
They can't be difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, they can't be too difficult because then no one's going to do them. But and the rewards kind of taper off as you get higher in level 2. But yeah, I mean that's kind of my thought on the individual systems. I think overall the end game is fun and engaging. I want to play it right now. I'm chomping at the fucking bit, right? I'm ready to jump back in. But when I jump back in, I think the biggest thing right now is just the obvious elephant in the room, which is the Champion's Demise dungeon. I think that dungeon is awesome, and I've had a lot of fun. That's how I've been grinding most of my XP. But for those that don't know, it's literally like it's one row with 3 like paths that come off of it, and it is jam packed with goatmen and elites. And so the meta is you join that dungeon. Each 3 of you just picks a lane and goes down the lane, so you're getting triple XP the whole time. And you have one person either waiting at the front getting boosted the whole time or following along with somebody. The first person to reach the end of the dungeon leaves the party. That kicks them out of the party to the front of the dungeon. Everyone else leaves the party one by one. Everyone's at the front of the dungeon. You rejoin the group. You go back in. It's reset. You do it again. So it's great in the sense that it's a constant grind. It feels like, honestly, doing chaos runs in Diablo 2 a little bit. So I don't think it's a problem. I think what they need to do is they need to make other dungeons have better density to fix that problem. I don't want to see them change that dungeon and make it worse, because we finally, they did make some changes to other dungeons to fix some things that were broken that were making them a little more viable. I think that dungeon is fantastic. I think other dungeons should be brought in line with it, not the other way around. Because right now it's just the most fun. Like, basically we grind that, and then when Helltide pops, we grind Helltide, and then when that's done, we go back there or we go to the PvP zone. That's kind of what we've been doing. And the XP per hour there is just insane. The loot per hour there is insane. It's really fun. It's been super fun. But that is kind of the elephant in the room right now, is that if you're not doing that, you're not doing as much as you can. And that feels kind of bad, right? Like, again, I brought up earlier, I actually did the Renown. I know I said I wouldn't. Specifically the altars. I didn't mind the Renown, but again, you reach a point where you're level 75 and you're missing 20 Paragon points, and you're like, fuck, if I get this Renown done, that's a whole other Paragon board, right? That's like a whole other board I get. I still think the Paragon system is the same as Diablo 3's. It's just on a board instead of in menus. I'm doing it, but
I'll disagree with you pretty heavily on that one. Yeah.
That's fair. If vulnerable damage was on the tab instead of critical hit damage, it's the same thing. Like if cold damage or cold resist is, it's just stats, right? I do like the way the nodes work and kind of how you have to put, like, it feels bad as a sorcerer, even though dexterity does help me going to get dexterity to unlock a node for my build when I'm focused on int. It's just an odd feeling. And I think that the same thing could be achieved through just the same almost Diablo 3-like system, where instead of just doing like 5 dex, 5 dex, 5 dex, if I just had a button that said plus 5 dex, plus 5 dex, plus 5 dex. Like, I don't understand the difference. I feel like it's a little more complicated than it has to be. And speaking from my girlfriend, who played a lot of Diablo 3, she's overwhelmed by it a little bit. So for the casual fan, I don't know how that lands. But that's again, I guess what I'm trying to get to overall is that my takes have not changed. I feel exactly how I did going into the game. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I still think there's some tweaks and things I'd like to see changed. I do have a concern, though, for the average non-borderline homeless person that I am when it comes to Diablo, because, I mean, there's so many endgame systems that it can be a little overwhelming for your average person coming in, for sure.
There's a lot, and the Paragon board, the whole Paragon system is a pretty hard step into. I feel as if there really should be like a recommended path or something like that, because like if you have no idea, like I had a base understanding of what the Paragon boards were, and it still took me a day or two to like really get a handle on it. I know that everyone was out there like theory crafting and messing around with like the build tools and such, and I just wanted to see it in the game, so I didn't really look into it. and then now every single lunch break since I've been back to work has been spent just entirely messing around with Paragon boards.
Yeah.
In order to go through and is like trying to min max the efficiency of how you build your path out and such.
Yeah.
Because like you were saying, like now all of a sudden, like the to me, your complaint to me is something that's compelling because now it makes it so that way my sorceress cares about dexterity. But it's not just that you're having to go through and care about dexterity. It's like, well,
why can't I just click a button? Why do I gotta align it?
Well, it's because it's like it depends on what path that you want to go through and take. Because if I take Dex
Right.
on this path, it gets me like a cold damage node. But then if I take I can get more Dex going this path, but instead it's like an all resist node that it leads me to. So like, what choice am I gonna make? Especially as you get to the ends of your boards and you're kind of like just filling in things. Like, do I take 5 legendary nodes and 3 glyphs, or do I take 4 glyphs and 2 legendary nodes?
Thank you.
It's like but for me, those are compelling, interesting choices in order to go through, and it's a puzzle in order to go through and figure out. Other people are just going through and they're pulling up a guide online and they're just cookie cutter filling in their Paragon boards, and that's fine. That's 100% fine, and that's what like the majority of the casual player base is going to go through and do because it's such a complicated system to try and figure out. But I like that puzzle in order to go through and try and like work things out where if I rotate the board this way, I'll lose a rare node, but I can get to the legendary node faster, and I don't really care about some of these other things, and so it's just like it's a whole bunch of choice. And I'm enjoying trying to figure it out with how I want to go with my Sever build.
And maybe I'll get there, right? I think that my problem is that if I want to, let's say I want to try a Frozen Orb build.
Yeah.
Fuck me.
Roll a new sorceress. Yeah, that is definitely
there's no fucking way. For the amount of time it takes you to level this high, there's no way in hell because it scales so high. But you're right. I mean, like it's like if I want to if I want to try a firewall build right now, I'm going to spend 2 hours in the fucking town redoing my entire paragraph because they didn't give a refund all button. You had to undo each one by one, which is great. And then, God forbid you hit a break point of like crit or cooldown or something like that you're trying to hit, and now you want to shift your board a little bit. Because that's a migraine and a half. And again, like I just feel like it's the same problem I said going in, right? I think it's a cool system in theory. I think that it could be simplified in a way that isn't less complex for your choices. But I think I'm a sorcerer who has 4 Paragon boards, and I don't give a fuck about any legendary node. Period. Not one of them. I'm not activating any of them because it doesn't make any sense for any of the builds that I want to run. I don't care if you're running Ice Shards, if you're running Arc Lash, if you're running Firewall, any of the top tier builds, you don't go for any of those at all. They're pointless. That's a problem, right? Like, so I'm basically picking nodes that have good rare nodes, which is fine. And it feels really overly complicated for something that's literally like, I'm just getting more vulnerable damage. So I just want to go after the vulnerable damage. Why not just give me a fucking button to click more vulnerable damage instead of going up this tree and all this stuff too? But maybe that changes in a couple levels. I don't know.
Do you think
or
that's
just play
more
Necromancer because like my choices matter, having to go through, and also like it even matters like which order that you're placing your boards to go through and unlock certain things.
In certain regards it does, but it's just again, I just feel like if I had a board that had vulnerable damage from vulnerable enemies, cold damage, fire damage, and I was just like, I get a point, put a point into one of those things, it's the same exact thing that's happening, it's just less confusing. But I could
do you think because you lack the legendary node that you want to get to, that the Paragon boards then feel insignificant without it?
No, because the rare nodes are super significant. I mean, they do some serious damage. I mean, there's real power in your Paragon board, and that's what eventually got me to go after the Renown that I was saying I'm not going to go after because you're talking like my gear adds a certain amount of vulnerable damage, but my Paragon boards give me 58% vulnerable damage right now. That's a lot of vulnerable damage, right? And that's off of like one glyph. That's not all the nodes going up to the glyph too. So, I mean, it really starts to get crazy. And the way vulnerable damage just impacts the game overall, no matter what class you're playing, is crazy. Vulnerable is very strong. So it's nice. But I don't know. Overall, like, I'll tell you this: I've enjoyed the crafting system a lot more than I thought I would. Like the upgrading and kind of mixing and matching powers and things like that. But the Nightmare Sigil system and the Paragon boards in general, I'm still like really not happy with. But again, that might evolve and change the more classes I play and the more things I do. I've really experienced the Sorcerer pretty much exclusively. But from all my friends that are playing, like I've got two friends playing Rogue, one playing Necro, and two friends playing Barb, and their experience is very similar to mine. But that could also be confirmation bias, right? So, like I said,
Yeah.
I'm having
I mean,
a great time.
Yeah. 'Cause
You
I mean,
know,
like,
so-
what is it? Just like because like for the Paragon boards, like the Necromancer, like the Flesh Eater legendary node changes how you play the game.
Yes.
Like that
My friend's
just that
running
one
Bone.
point.
I don't know if he's running that one. He's running Bone Spear.
I mean,
So
he's
I'm not-
running both. Every Necromancer can use Flesh Eater.
Okay, gotcha. I don't know what that
every
means,
yeah.
so-
Every 5 corpses that you consume gives you a 40% damage buff for 6 seconds.
Okay.
So you can't.
Yeah.
So you actually like, especially when you're going through and you're having like with bone specifically when you have like and you're trying to like watch like your buff procs and stuff like that. Like you have to make sure that you time that 5th consumption, well before you like go through and drop your payload.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, like I said,
There's a joke in there that no one.
Yeah,
touched.
there definitely was.
I added a word to make it seem less.
Good,
yeah, like
good
I said,
on you
I
for
think-
being conscious of where you put your payload. So,
yeah, I could talk for hours about the end game.
So-
I'm enjoying the hell out of the game. That's where I'll leave it.
I think it is good to hear because I think the logical place to go is what we would like to see kind of going forward.
Yeah.
Because we know this isn't it. If anything, it's just a start. We saw a video
Yeah.
just the other day from Rod Ferguson and Joe Shelley going into the success of Diablo 4, but also saying like, hey, we're really just getting started. There was a report that there are 2 expansions already in the works, not to mention what we know about seasons. And I would imagine we're going to be getting some information about the most recent season, season 1, any week now. 2-3 weeks, we should probably be hearing about it because, start building some more hype. But for me to kind of hear you guys going into this end game, the beauty of playing hardcore is there's a longevity that gets added to every game because it's going to take me a lot longer. I'm going to play slower because I want to not die. And then obviously I'm going to die and then I have to start back over slower and stuff like that. So, when you're talking about Paragon boards, I'm like, man, that must be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there. Not tonight though. Okay. So I brought this up pre-show. Here's one of my gripes. When I look at my friends list, I don't know who is playing hardcore and who is playing softcore. And that was always like a very distinguishing feature in Diablo, right? Like I would look and I could see, like, go back to Diablo 2, just the pose. You had red lettering for hardcore, you had white lettering for softcore, and like the pose of the character was different. I need that. I message, who was I messaging the other day? It doesn't matter. I was messaging one of my friends list people. I was like, hey, are you playing hardcore? Like, no, I'm playing softcore. I'm like, I got no idea. It was Leviathan, actually.
I'm gonna interject real quick. I'm shocked you could find one of your friends in the friends
No
list.
shit. The benefit of having a clan, though, is hit N instead of O, and you can find your people that you're playing if they're in your clan. Or if you have a friend who's an idiot not in your clan, then it becomes very hard to find them in your stupid friends list that's sorted by nothing. We have no... Yeah.
Completely random.
Completely random. It's not alphabetical. It's not by level. It's not by game type. It's not even by game. It's actually insane how bad the friends list is. It needs to be fixed. But that should be, hopefully, an easy fix. That's on BattleNet's end, which is a different team, right? That's not on Diablo's.
Yeah.
That's necessarily Diablo's end, right?
Well, like I'm talking about the friends list that's integrated into the game. Like you hit O, and like I got my friends list on the side. I'm looking. I'm just like, well, I know they have played hardcore. Are they like that should be clear. I should know like this person's playing
Yeah,
hardcore. I'm gonna message them like, hey, do you want to group up? With dynamic scaling, it would be easy. It wouldn't matter. Like
yeah,
when playing Diablo 3, I would see like, oh, they're playing hardcore, but they're level 70, I'm level 50. Yeah, we can't play. But like
Yeah.
now I can, but I don't have the tool to do it. And I just want that. I want to be able to look. I have a decent, I don't have a lot of friends, but I have some. I'd like to join them if they're playing hardcore and I don't know. So I would like to see that. Gentlemen?
stuff we'd like to. Oh God, I could talk for hours on that. I would say yes times 2 about the
So
friends list thing.
why don't we
No.
change it? What is your current need? So instead of like
Current.
what do we change? That's a different whole podcast. What is your current need in Diablo 4 right now?
Let me think about it. Go to 9 first. Let me think about it.
I mean, my biggest need would be some sort of journal system for all of like the various like lore books, dialogue,
Yes.
cutscenes,
Oh
in order
yeah.
to go through and rewatch. Because what was it? There was a quest that I was doing in the Dry Steppes that involved some characters that you encountered during the campaign. It was kind of like an end cap to like their story. And the dialogue got cut off halfway through because I accepted a party invite and it changed my world. And so my world instance changed, and then the dialogue stopped. And I have to go and find a YouTube video of someone that recorded the end of the quest in order to get like the part 2 of the dialogue. Because it stopped and it did stop playing the rest of the dialogue. Because a lot of the dialogue is multiple entries, and so you don't even get the chat text until the second part queues up, and it's like one of those ones. It's just lost forever. Good
Hmm.
luck, so, and there's no way to go back and like replay it, because Diablo 3, every single book that you found, like you couldn't go back and like I guess you could replay like the campaign segments and such, but like every book that you found on the ground you could go back and replay. You could open up the journal and do it. I would just like that, like, because I guess like the interim system that they have right now is that like when you're doing a dungeon, every dungeon has like some sort of lore book or something that explains like the lore. Like I guess maybe not every dungeon, but most have something that
Most,
explains
yeah.
like why that place exists, and that lore entry drops every time. Every time that you do the dungeon, because you can't. It would just be simpler to have a journal that I could go back and click. The Whispering Caves or whatever, what their lore entry is, as opposed to every time you go in, you click a corpse, a blue item appears, you click it, and then dialogue starts, because it's like just journal page, journal entry, diary, paper scrap. It's just like it's just put it in so I can replay it. And also because like you don't have like campaign skips like you did like in Diablo 3, where I really want to re-listen, or I really want to rewatch this cutscene, or I want to replay this dialogue or the story component or something. I can just skip through the campaign to this particular point and replay up to it and then drop back out of the campaign, like what you could do with Diablo 3. Now it's you literally just have to like replay through the entire campaign. You can do 1, 2, 3 in any order that you want, but 4, 5, and 6 have to be played in the same. And then there's just no way of replaying cutscenes outside of YouTube. Yeah, so
outside of YouTube.
Yeah, that's my like current need, without having to like redesign like a game system or something like that.
Yeah, I would agree with 9 balls. I can't give you one. I have 2 though. One for the people and one for nerdwords. Okay, so the one for the people is some sort of LFG system. For a massively online only game, how the fuck are you supposed to play with anybody? If they're not on your friends list, you're not doing it, right? Like, there's no general chat to go. If you wanted to old school WoW style, just go talk and try to find people. There's no trade chat, right? There's local chat. But if you've only got 12 per server instance, that's a really limited number of people you could talk to. Mind you, we know how toxic those chats can get, but we have to be able to group with people. So if they don't want to do that, okay, give me hey, I want to do this dungeon, and you queue. Yeah. And then 3 random people join, and you start at the front of the dungeon, and you go. Right? That would be awesome. Some sort of like, hey, I'm looking to do this thing. Let's join up and do it. Would be great. I think this game needs it really, really badly. I know that friend, girlfriend, people that aren't me that have a bunch of friends that play Diablo, like, have mentioned that to me as well too. Like, hey, even though I'm on this game and I see people running around, I feel like I'm completely alone, playing the game, and that sucks, right? We want to bring people into the experience together. I think there's ways we could do that. I mean, hell, Diablo 2 had a fucking lobby. It was terrible, but it had a lobby where you could at least talk to people. Hey, do you want to go do this thing? Right? You could look at game names and join a game name, right? Diablo 3 had the ability to just join friends from the friends list, right? But that's not in this game, and that feels really weird. Doesn't affect me as much, but I think that one's for the people. I think for Nerdwords, I need more PvP. Like, I need it. I mentioned the arena, like a 2v2. Like, just give me a blank like tile set and two versus. There had to be some sort of queuing for this, right? But me and a friend against two. Boom, super easy. But just imagine, for anyone that's done the PvP experience right now, if you're telling me right now that a 5-on-5 capture the flag wouldn't be the sickest shit you've ever played in your life. If you've played the PvP, the Fields of Hatred at all, I'm telling you, it is stupid fun. Even if you don't like PvP, there's very low stakes. Don't pick up any Seeds of Hatred and you won't lose anything, right? Except for maybe some pride. If you don't have much of that like me, then it's fine. You can go out there and get mollywopped. It's all good. But the PvP is amazing. I hope that this isn't all they do for it, which I don't think it will be, right? But if I could ask for anything right now, it is just more to do with PvP. Some other instance, some other kind of game mode, some sort of objective type game mode, anything at all, I will eat it up. It's amazing. It is by far the most fun I've had playing Diablo 4, and it might be the most fun I've had playing a Diablo game. I absolutely love the Fields of Hatred. It's incredible. Thank you, Blizzard. I appreciate you. Please give me more of it.
All right. Well, there it is, folks. Blizzard, take those notes. We will go into more depth as we kind of go through the next few weeks. There's a lot we want to talk about, but it almost feels like almost everything becomes its own podcast. Um, I've been enjoying my time. I think what's going to happen is we're going to close this conversation and we're all going to open Diablo 4. Um,
Yep.
Yes.
so why don't we close it out as we always do with a moo, moo, moo.
Moo 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 moo.
I'm clicking play.